All right, guys, so this is our last lesson of the year. I wanted to make sure I showed my face down here in case you don't show up to live lessons. We're going to get over to this Jen Stark mural. All right, y'all, so make sure you have a piece of paper. You have something to draw with. I'm going to go straight in with Sharpie. If you want to do pencil first, that is totally fine. And you are definitely going to want some color. If you have it, I highly recommend paint for this, but really anything that will distribute color onto your paper is fine to use. So I'm starting with my paper horizontal. We are going to create those drips like they had on those different murals. The one big thing you want to really pay attention to when creating this drip effect is making sure that as it's dripping, it looks like it's going with gravity and things are coming down. Your organic lines aren't like going sideways and pointing that way. You're like, they're not really able to drip and they're working against gravity there. So an example of that would be like this one here, where I've got this one drip that's coming down the paper, but then I've got one that's pointing kind of off this way, one that's going this way. That way, gravity, the way it works, it's going to pull it straight down towards the bottom of the paper. So just make sure as you're creating these, you're keeping that in mind and making sure your drips are pointing towards the bottom of the piece of paper. So I'm going to start off here up at the top, and it's always going to drip towards the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in and kind of create a drip that's coming down from the top of my paper. As long as this is kind of that meandering organic line like we saw a couple slides ago, you're good. Once you get that first one in, you're going to repeat this really until it's the size you want. It can be a really big part of it. So I'm just kind of following that same line. If I want even one smaller, I could go inside a little bit there too and create this as big as you want. You may want just one or two really big drips. You may want a couple, multiple drips in your whole picture. So having just one, or like you can kind of see on this one I worked on before where I have multiple drips and different layers of them coming down. So I'll start with my first, then I'm going to build one off to the side over here. So I'm going to kind of start this, and I'm making sure, guys, as these are coming, once again, they're all pointing downwards. I don't have any that are like going sideways and working against gravity. And it's kind of nice when you end to not have all of them end like in a straight line across the bottom. Have some a little higher, some a little lower. Is a really nice way to kind of work this out. So this one I'm going to have kind of starting with this way a little further and coming down. The further apart you have your lines, the bigger that color section is going to be. If you want to have any real tight and close together, you could do that as well. That's just going to make that a little skinnier there. And then I'm going to create kind of one more down in this where it's kind of, instead of just coming off the top of the paper, it's coming out from kind of underneath some of my other drips over here. So once you have about 2/3 of your paper filled, you can stop. I want to leave a little empty or negative space down here at the bottom to just kind of show some difference, just like you saw in her murals where she kind of would have a clear or a white space down at the bottom with the really colorful drips at the top. So once I've got that kind of in and going, then I'm going to get into coloring them in. Now, some of hers were very colorful in rainbow order, and she also had some drips that were black and white. You can choose how you want to go about this. You can have some color, some black and white. You can have all color, or if you really feel the need and don't want color, you could have all black and whites. But this is not counted as black and white. This is just your outline. The stripes actually need to be filled in if that's the way you're going to go through and do it. So if you want to get out your crayons, colored pencils, markers, or like I said, paint is definitely my material of choice for this one. Go ahead and get those out and we'll get started. All right, guys, so you can see I'm going to go through and start painting mine. I am just using, these are temper cake paints and water, but like I said, any type will do, or you can just color in your sections as well. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to kind of keep mine in
rainbow order. Now that may be some of mine. I could do all warm colors, I could do all cool colors, or you could do the full color spectrum. I'll really leave that up to you. So I'm going to go in and start with my purple first in here, and then I'm going to repeat the rainbow order. So following that Roy G. Biv all the way down. If you need some other inspiration color-wise for this, you can also go take a look at her paintings on the first couple slides if you want to kind of see the way that her colors went through. All right, so now that I have my first strip done, I can move into, do I want it to follow the same pattern? Do I want to start with a different color but kind of continue the same? Or do I want to switch to maybe do a black and white or a drip that's all warm colors or all cool colors? And that's kind of a decision you'll have to make for yourself, your personal choice, up to you guys, how you want to do that. All right, so finish it up, get your drips all painted in, your black and white, your color, or a mixture of both. Have fun, and I will miss you guys. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time.